welcome to Absolutely Not. My name is Katrina Stroh. My pronouns are they, she, he, and I am so thankful that you are here with us today. Real quick, if you appreciate the work that I do in this space or another space, please visit the Support the Mission page on my website. There are several options to choose from to support my work, so please just choose one. The keywords for this episode are worth, internalization, and systemic. I encourage y'all to look up the definitions of these words and compare them to the definitions of these words that you carry with you on a daily basis. If you need help comparing, please let me know. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. BetterHelp allows you to connect with one of 24,000 licensed therapists in a safe and private online environment. You pay just a low flat fee for unlimited therapy with your therapist. Visit www.betterhelp.com/absolutelynot for more information and to get 10% off your first month. This link can be found in the show notes. Today's episode is titled Unpacking Unworthy. Ooh, I know we're going to get into it. I'm excited to talk about this with our amazing special guest, Thamarrah Jones, she, her. She is a strategist and a host of the As It Should Be with Thamarrah Jones podcast. Yes, a show about refusing to accept inequity. Thamarrah interviews people using their skills to push progress forward. She shares stories and resources to help humans unlearn their role in upholding systems that hurt people. Oof. She identifies as Black, first-generation Haitian American, cisgendered, non-disabled, and a woman. Thank you so much for being here today.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
I'm excited, and as I share with other people, I'm very scared to talk about unpacking Unworthy today. Why are we doing that, like on a live public show?
Why are we doing that? That's a great question. So I think that I decided that this would be a topic I'd be comfortable with talking about with you. Because I have never been in a situation with you where I have ever felt unsafe, and that's not just like us talking, but also like me listening to your podcast and me being like in your platforms. So I'm just like, if I'm going to talk about anything that I'm nervous about talking about, it will be with Katrina.
And that means that means the world to me. I cannot thank you enough for all of those kind words. So I'm trying to peel back, so have you not felt safe before with other people to talk about unpacking unworthiness within yourself?
Oh, absolutely. I feel like a lot of people have this expectation that you show up into spaces or you do things because you are confident in yourself about doing them, and for some reason that gives way to this tendency to want to feel comfortable enough to like question my abilities or question who I am or question me as a person, question my identity, just say things that are just completely out of pocket, and it will re-trigger ideas inside of me at least, that I am not worthy of the space that I'm taking up. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I have a lot of thoughts about that. First of all, out of pocket. I ain't had nobody be out of pocket in my presence in a minute. So thank you for bringing that to my attention, that people are indeed still out of pocket. But also, it made me realize that, I already knew this, but the words of other people can sometimes, like the keywords today, be internalized by us, and we really carry it around with us. When was the last time you kind of internalized somebody's words?
Ooh. Have you ever So this is an experience I've had. Have you ever had where you wear your hair a certain way, literally wear your hair a certain way, and then somebody goes, "Are you going to go out like that?" Like, why didn't you just leave it the other way? Like, for example, as a Black woman with natural, I keep my hair natural. I don't perm my hair anymore. I do braid outs sometimes or twist outs or something. So like I'll have my hair twisted or braided for like 5 days. I'll have it twisted or braided or something, right? And then day 6, I take out my twist and my braids because I want it to be out. And that question would arise, like, why did you do that? Like, what do you mean, why did I do that? That was the whole point of the whole thing. And that I have at one point like bursted into tears. It was probably like a hormonal day or something, I don't know, but like literally just the question of like, are you gonna wear your hair like that? I bursted into tears.
Oh, I am trying not to burst into tears currently because I've had it all types of ways. Like I'll have it in a fro, then go into a twist out. They're like, "Oh, why did you do that?" Or have it in twist out, then go into so it's lose lose either way. You racist either way, baby. Like it ain't got nothing to do with me. But what I love about that is you explaining why that hurts you so deeply. Like you are doing these things for yourself and you explaining what your identities, I mean, your natural hair, the fact that you're natural, that's a whole nother community inside of the identity. So it really affects everything about you when people question parts of you. Do, do people around you know that now? Have you made people aware of that? That questioning just one part of me is still a whole bunch of me.
I think that there's never a point where for me at least, that I've ever reached that I have felt like nobody is going to ever choose a piece of me to question. I don't know that I've ever reached that because there's always something else. Because it's like we spent the last 2 years with people outwardly and very, very loudly and very proudly. I don't want to say like, I'm not sure what the word I'm looking for is, but the experience I'm seeing is people are really talking about their Blackness and owning their Blackness out loud in spaces that previously were not safe to do that. And so that singular piece of me is a place where people are starting to like, okay, let me try to not question your Blackness, but the subsets of that, like the communities that I'm a part of as part of being a Black person, and those are fully open, ready for you to question all day long. Like my natural hair is up for grabs. My like first generation immigrant experience is up for grabs. Like like everything except for the fact that like my skin is Black seems to be up for grabs and open to being questioned. So I don't know that I can say yes to that. People are not doing that.
Ooh, and for anybody who is listening to this, I hope that you're being more aware. You are being made more aware of what happens when you ask these types of questions or what happens when you question pieces of us. We are still us and you really can't dissect us. So you asking these questions without informing yourself through other means is it's emotionally taxing. When was the last time you were emotionally taxed in a space that you knew already wasn't safe?
Ooh, last time I was emotionally taxed in a space that I knew already wasn't safe. So actually what I have been doing more recently, and I want to say like literally like the last 6 months, is just full on exiting spaces that are unsafe and asking and expecting emotional work from me, right? Just full on exiting, just being like, okay, yeah, we're done here. This is I've done, like, whether it be a space where I am paid to be a part of or not. I don't like, there's not enough money in the world. There just really isn't enough money in the world anymore for me to feel like this is okay. And I'm not going to say that I am like, I'm great at this, I'm perfect at this. Like, literally, I said last 6 months I've been trying to do this, not something that I have actively successfully done every time. So one situation where I was asked to, like, so I do a ton of writing, right? I do writing for my like work, like my full-time job, but as well as for like other stuff too. And I was asked to write to an experience, to respond to like a proposal or something like that, where in order to feel like a connection to, in order for the potential client to feel a connection to our ability to do the work, I was asked to basically leverage my Blackness as a tool in the response. And not just my Blackness, but like my experiences as a Black person, when it, like, basically the question might as well have said, remember a time where you were historically marginalized, and write that on paper for me, please, today. and that was a time where I fully was uncomfortable with the request. And rather than just like saying, I'm uncomfortable with this request and here is why, I did some sort of mental gymnastics in which I blamed myself and turned it into like, I talk about Blackness all the time, like in all of my spaces and all of my platforms. So if I can't do it here, then I'm a fraud. Like, I'm not worthy of being in this position. I am not like this, like all of this self-deprecation that you could have possibly imagined happening were what happened in that space. And it wasn't until after, and so instead, so I chose a different way of doing it. I chose not to talk about myself and chose to do like other things, to talk about like systemic work, like things that are happening to the world, just trends happening in the world. So it wasn't until afterwards that I actually sat down, like I talked to somebody, a friend of mine reached out to her, and she said, like, like, these are all the things that I'm feeling, everything that I just told you, where I was saying, like, I talk about Blackness all the time. Like, if I can't do this here, then I'm a fraud. Like, I am, like, obviously I'm just clout chasing on the social medias because I can't talk about this right now. Like, and she said to me, like, you were put in a position where you were asked to tap into your trauma for profit. And I don't see how that makes you unworthy as a professional to say no to that. And again, I bursted into tears. Oh yeah, that's definitely, yeah, it's hard out here.
It is most certainly hard out here. And I hate that you were put in a position like that and I love that phrasing, to share your trauma for profit, because without that phrasing, the light bulb kind of didn't go off in your head. It didn't click. You're just like, well, I have to do this. This phrase that came to mind was, you should be grateful. These people giving you a chance to talk about Blackness on the blog. You should be grateful. How many times a day do you have to tell yourself, or maybe a week, a month, do you have to tell yourself that you don't have to be grateful for shit?
I like what so I most of my life it never occurred to me that I didn't have to be grateful. It didn't occur to me. It just never was a thought, because if the story for Black people is you have to work twice as hard to get half as much, then when you get what you feel is equality, then that means that somebody must have given it to you, because in no way was it ever a birthright. It was something that was given to you. It was a gift. It was never a birthright. It was a gift. So why would I not think that I needed to be grateful for something that was a gift to me?
And this is throughout cultures, throughout Black culture. And we talked about the sub-communities of Black culture and how it's going through. Which part, or I can't even look up split up Black culture, but how has your Haitian heritage or your other identities affected the idea of what it means to be grateful, or what it means to like move forward and move up?
Yeah. There's an expectation for any immigrant family, regardless of race. Actually, there's an expectation for Black and Latino families that are immigrants in America, that you're going to be poor, right? There's just like this baseline expectation that you're going to be poor, and you're going to be like in the like deeply steeped into the struggle. And so, and then when you add, I wanted to say, then when you add the layer of Blackness, that's why I initially said all immigrant families, but then I was like, that's not even a little bit true.
You see
so basically, Black Americans have gone through what they've gone through in this country. And then you immigrate to this country, your family immigrates to this country, chooses to come here. And in the case of being Haitian, chooses to come here out of being for safety reasons, like as a refugee, and like for safety reasons. And so for all that, like I grew up with this expectation of like, damn, I'm so lucky. Like I should have been in the hood. I should have been like, probably should have been in a situation where I like got shot by now. Like these are all the expectations that I'm like, I made it to 16 and I'm not pregnant. Like my brother's not in jail. Like we don't live, it was all of these things. And I was like, I had all of this. I feel like I've never had a situation where I didn't have to feel like, where I didn't feel like I was supposed to feel grateful for the things that I had, in the way of like, I need to cater to, especially white people, but I need to cater to anybody who says that they can give me anything, like any, and it's weird navigating that as like a professional person, because it's like, I'm literally in a space where you're also telling me that like I need to earn the right to have a living wage, have like a livable wage, have like a clean environment. It's like something that you need to pay your dues in order to receive. And I feel like I completely lost your question in all of my explanations, but like,
no. And this is why so many people who share our identities or who have shared our lived experiences, when they are in the workplace, they don't feel safe enough to say no to things, and they don't feel safe enough to share why they feel this way, because your experiences are quite different from the people who are in power over you. When was the last time, or let me backtrack. Yes. When was the last time you realized, oh, I am catering to these people and I should not be?
Oh my gosh. So I don't know that I don't think I remembered this came across to me in a specific work context, but I don't know if this has ever happened to anybody else. I change my voice when white people are around, like in any context. I can be walking down the street and like a white person says hi to me and my voice changes. I can be in a grocery store and like the cashier is a white person and says something to me and my voice changes. Like I'm on the phone with a person I perceive to be white and my voice changes. And so I hadn't recognized that about myself. Like I knew that I code switch. I know that I'm like a master. I do that like it's bread. Like I don't know, but that's in a workplace context, right? Like I walk into a job and will change my personality in order to ensure the comfort of white people in that space. I recognize that. I have recognized that about myself. What I never knew was that like that just applies in general. That just applies literally anywhere. I could, if you were a white person and we were having this video Zoom conversation, my voice would be different. It'd be much more high pitched. So that is something that I've noticed that I will like change to cater to people, and that I'm definitely working on.
I appreciate you sharing that. I've had other Black women share that as well, that they have a bass in their voice. Their voice is significantly lower than when they talk to other people, because they don't want to be seen as a threat, or they want to be seen as cheerful and happy, because they just don't want the conflict to occur. But what I am hearing from you is the realization that this shit does not separate. You cannot be one person somewhere and then think that it's just going to magically turn off somewhere else. It continues to be internalized, and you continue to believe that this is the way that I have to act all the time, 24/7, 365. When did you start implementing processes that you don't have to live the life, or that weird life that's catering to people all the time?
This year, like this, this last, it's March. So like the last 3 months, I've been very good at this in the last 3 months. What was really funny was you asked me to be a guest on your show, and one, I was like shocked and appalled. I'm like, why would they do this? Like, why would they do this? Why would they ask me to be on the show? This doesn't make any sense. But okay, sure. Then I needed to come up with a topic for our conversation. And during that like period, I think it was like, it might have been like December. I have been in the process of like going through like personal coaching and trying to just grow myself as a person. I have like a lot of books here that appeal to that, but also like Legend Born, which is a very fun and exciting book, which I recommend all the people read. Like, I have like a lot of books that cater to that. And during that period, when you had asked me to be on your show, like the reason why like I thought about unworthiness was because that was what I was facing in that moment. That was what I was challenging myself to grow through. And so I was like, okay, this is a challenge for me to be fully realized, fully like in my self-awareness bag, and try to see how much I have grown between the time where I fill out this paper and say, I am unworthy, to the day that I have a conversation with Katrina about it. So yeah, the last 3 months, I've been really good about this.
And it sounds like business is booming. It sounds like you are challenging unworthiness on a daily basis. As we have learned in these past 2 years, if you don't challenge something, it will continue to stand. If you don't challenge beliefs, biases, and all of the above within yourself and other people, it will continue to stand. And systems and processes will be built around it. You talked you talked about the books you are using to kind of move forward and challenge the unworthiness within you. Are there any other tools that you are utilizing to challenge unworthiness in yourself and maybe in the way that people project unworthiness onto you?
Yes. I think the biggest tool is I don't remember the exact name that my coach called it, but basically what I do is she had this idea that she called it a praise break, which is very, very Black Southern Christian of her to say, like of her to call it. She called it a praise break. And essentially it's like you pause, you reflect, you analyze, you solutionize, and something, whatever the E stands for. And so by the end of this, what's supposed to, apparently I found this out 3 months into the program. She was like, this is supposed to be a 30-second process. I'm like, are you sure? It sounds like it's supposed to be like a 3-hour process, because that's how long it takes me. So basically what I've been doing is whenever I feel like I am leaning into my habit of self-deprecation and feeling and like deciding that everything is a consequence of my own unworthiness as a person, or like my own fault as a human, I pause and I don't react. I don't react, like, because the challenge that I've seen myself do is that I will just like my initial reaction is always to say like, okay, how did you fuck this up? Like, what did you, like, where did you make this worse? How did you, like, there's never a moment where I'm just like, oh, this isn't actually a me thing. This is a them thing. This isn't, they're not upset because I did a thing. They're upset because they have their own stuff and they're their own person, and they that's their problem. It's not my problem. Like, and that would have never occurred to me. So I utilized the praise break to take that pause. I've attempted the morning affirmations process. Doesn't really work for me. I haven't gotten into it well. And then also, like, I journal every week. At the end of every week, I will just sit there and like talk to myself for an hour or two. Like, I'll either do it written or I will like talk to myself just like this on a recording. And yeah, all those things have been really helpful.
I cannot thank you enough for sharing it. And also pointing out once again, a reoccurring theme, that some of this shit will not work for some people. Like, it just doesn't work. And even if somebody says, oh, you just do this for 3 minutes a day, maybe I need 3 hours. Maybe I do need to sit there for 3 hours and talk it all the way out. Maybe the reflection part might take me longer than the 3 months they said it was going to take. It'll take me a year to get to the response. For anybody who's been listening to the show longer than 2 to 3 episodes, you'll know that I used to want to fight every fucking person that asked me a question. You ask me one question about anything, like, okay, do you want to fight? Like, do you want to fight right now? And like Thamarrah has shared today, that's just not true for a lot of people. That's just not true. People have their own things going on. That is a very insightful take here, and I cannot thank you enough for sharing it with us. It takes a lot to move forward in this growth, to kind of extract all of the beliefs that we're injected with from a very young age, on a personal level, on a community level, on a systemic level. Are there people in your life currently that are helping you extract on a daily basis?
Well, I feel like the biggest person, of course, for me is definitely my husband. And that's somebody that I lean on for a lot of that. But what's funny is that I feel like most of my community, especially since like we spent a year inside, and then a year, like a half a year, we were supposed to be still inside, but most people weren't doing that. And so and then like I started really getting more active online in online spaces because of that. And so I feel like a lot of my community now, when it comes to like self-reflection, and when it comes to just figuring out how to grow and grow past the things that are no longer working for me, like those are the people that I've been able to meet online, and I've been able to be in community with online, especially like people like yourself, as well as resources that like your show and like other podcasts. And yeah, I feel like a lot of those spaces have been really transformational for me this past year.
Thank you for so much for sharing that. I have some internalized beliefs that I'm trying to extract for myself around online spaces. I think it's like the older version of me trying to be like, oh, these ain't real connections because you never touched or hold their hand, or these are not real connections because you've never like been to the mall with them or something. Like, first of all, I don't even go to the mall no more but extracting those beliefs is really hard to move forward with, to be like, no, these are real people in my life and I can lean on them for support. Have you ever had conversations with yourself surrounding like whether these are real connections or not online?
Oh yes, so much. Like I didn't most of like you would have never caught me dead saying, oh yeah, online spaces where I'm making connections. That would not have happened up until like the middle of last year, because I made a friend who I literally was introduced to through email. I was introduced to somebody through email, and she ended up like we ended up talking, just like and learning a little bit about each other, just like one of those networking moments. And girlie ended up being the person I text all the time. I'm like, I talk to you more than I talk to my husband. Like, how is this not a friendship? Like, this is a like, I'm calling it at this moment. Friendship. and then eventually I started getting comfortable with the idea of showing up fully in those spaces. And the thing was, I started to notice that the idea of being unworthy happens a lot more in situations where you feel like people are better than you, or you feel like people are more accomplished or more qualified, or more like whatever it is. And that for me was happening much more in professional spaces. I was spending more time talking to my colleagues than I was talking to really anybody besides my husband. And so I took it upon myself to join other communities where I felt like I was in like-minded spirit. And then I took it upon myself to start making one-on-one connections with people in those spaces. Like, and I think that's what made online feel less fake to me. Social media is still fake. It's still just it's still just a giant pool of debauchery. Like, don't get it twisted. But like it's some of those like online community spaces where you're able to make those one-on-one connections that I've been able to feel like, okay, this is real. This is going somewhere.
Oh, and I love that you are reminding people that you get to decide that for yourself, what is real and what is not. I mean, don't take that analogy as far as you can take it, but you do get to decide what connections feel the realest to you. I wrote down like-minded spirit because I have never heard that before. I always hear like-minded, but I've never heard like-minded spirit. I need that.
Because it's different. Yes. For me, at least, it's very different. Because like-minded, for a lot of people, like, for example, like-minded, the definition of professional has been what somebody could call a like-minded person all day long, like somebody who like, and then you perpetuate that and tell me who I'm supposed to be as a person. I'm supposed to be poised. I'm like, poised in the face of what? Poised in the face of racism? Like, I'm supposed to be eloquent. I'm like, what do you define as eloquent? Like, how do you define? And so I've started to recognize that we can say the same thing all day long about who are the people we want to spend our time with, but when the spirit ain't there, when, like me, for example, I require to be in the presence of equity-centered people who recognize who understand the definition of context. And so, yeah, that ain't everybody who thinks that they are a professional. Like,
this is one of the main reasons I always have keywords in the beginning of it, because so many people are walking around with these definitions, and I have to be like, we don't match, we don't align. Like, I don't see it that way. I do not see it that way. I love the equity-centered people. Often when I am asked to speak at organizations, one of the first words I ask is, are you familiar with the words racism, transphobia, homophobia, trans and queer hostility? If the person asking me to come speak at their organization is like, oh yeah, we are, and I can tell, like, oh, y'all don't talk about that there. Y'all don't have these I'm good. I am good. I'm not about to carry this weight for y'all. I'm not about to do that. I'm here to get a check. But having those very direct conversations about the vocabulary and the spirit that we are carrying with us is so very important. And I cannot thank you enough for breaking it down for people. People got phrases that they can assess people and what they want to bring with them. Like-minded, equity-centered, baby. There are going to be people who listen to this episode and are going to move forward with their progress as you have in the past 3 months, and are going to now look for like-minded, spirited people and for equity-centered people. What are the top 3 tips you would share with them about moving forward in this progress?
This journey is yours to take, and this journey is yours to define, because let me tell you how long I spent my time on social media talking about how, dang, Brianna over here about 20, like 1 year, she about 6 months older than me, and she about 6 years past where I am, not just in like her career, but like in her self-awareness, and like, and like, oh man, the how dare I walk around talking about how I'm a Black woman when I have zero confidence in myself? Like, I there's a journal entry in my like recordings, in all my recordings, where I was legit talking to myself and saying, like, I don't have this level of confidence that I see like a lot of Black women. There's this representation of what Black women are right now when it comes to like the journey of self-actualization, where it's like there's this air of confidence that comes with it, and I'm like, I don't have that. I don't have that. I and that does not make me unworthy. Like, it's so I went from I don't have that, and that was like last summer, and then 6 months later I went to, and that doesn't make me unworthy. So it does not matter how long it takes you to finish the sentences, as long as you get there. So yeah, that's that. I don't know if that was 3 or 1, but that was what I've learned. So.
It does not matter how long it takes you to finish your sentence, as long as you get there. please somebody write that the fuck down. And take it with you for the rest I wrote it down. So I'm good for the rest of my life. But there are so many people who have needed that phrase. We are constantly being told that you need to do this in order to get here. And we're kind of all living in like the future, like 5 years from now, I'll be set because I'm doing this right now. When in fact, you're a damn human being. You don't need to do shit. You should be in the woods eating berries off of trees. But here we are in this. So please take back all of the ownership and power that was given to you. It is your birthright and you are worthy nonetheless. Thank you so much for sharing this amazing message with us. Are there any Are there any last minute sprinkles that you would like to share with the audience before we wrap it up?
I would definitely just want to let people, I don't know if y'all gleaned this at all from this conversation, but like this version of Thamarrah that you're getting today might not be the version of Thamarrah you get tomorrow. It's definitely not the version of me that somebody got yesterday. You know what I'm saying? So like you can figure it out as long as you take to figure it out. And if you are interested in being with me in my space as I continue to learn all of the things that I have internalized, whether that is systemic things that have been placed upon me, or really anything, then you can check me out on LinkedIn. I'm trying to be active there and really only there. So don't look for me nowhere else. I'm on Instagram, but you're not going to get nothing from me on Instagram. So and check out my website, thamarrahjones.com, and you will be able to find my podcast, As It Should Be with Thamarrah Jones,
which has amazing special guests and amazing conversations that will change your life, as I believe this one has as well. Thank y'all so much for being with us here today. And I hope you realize that your journey is yours, as Thamarrah has shared with us today, and you don't need to compare it to nobody else's journey. Keep setting those boundaries and say absolutely not to anything unaligned. We'll see you next time. Bye.